I'm Lisa Marie Benz, and this is another edition of Alive and Kicking on Location. You know, since I launched this show a few years back, it has always been a dream of mine to interview the rock and roll legend Eddie Money, because I heard he lived here in Florida. And would you believe my dream has come true? I am sitting here next to rock and roll legend Eddie Money. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That's very kind. I wish my wife was a fan. But yeah, it's I love Florida down here. It's actually I decided to move to Florida because my parents, like a lot of World War II people, they came down here in the early 70s and bought a couple of lots in Palm Coast off of Pine Tree. So I built a house there, and then I decided to, you know, I was lucky enough to get into Island Estates, which is, you know, it's a beautiful neighborhood, and I love the home down here. But I have another house in California. That's where my wife and 5 kids live.
Wow. Okay, so how often are you here?
I'm here as often as I can be here. When I do shows anywhere east of the Mississippi, I try to stay in Florida. My wife is really mad at me because after the Kentucky Derby, I was meeting 5 friends of mine from high school to play golf down here, and she, you know, she had to take all the kids home. So she's been on the warpath with me this week.
Well, let's go back a little bit. Like, I understand that you were part of the New York police force.
Right, sure.
So how did you go from being a part of that into rock and roll? How did that happen?
Well, I was in a rock band in high school, and my father was Patrolman of the Year back in 1968. He's the one that started the American flags and all the car antennas.
He did?
Yeah, when Goldwater lost the election, he stayed in bed for 2 weeks. The guy was, you know, he's out of his mind. But he was a great guy, and I decided to go on the police department, basically, you know, to help people. You know, somebody was going to jump the Bella, you know, going to deliver a baby in an elevator, get somebody's purse back. I mean, when I became a cop, really, you know, a lot of cops, they get a bad rap because they're giving people speeding tickets and stuff. Well, a lot of people enjoy the police department and the fire department and emergency workers because, you know, they're philanthropists. They want to help people out. It's part of their life. They're giving people. And, you know, I had a great time on the police department, but I didn't want to be in uniform for 20 years of my life. And I was in a rock band in high school. So the rock band in high school, they moved out to California. And I was bored hanging on the police department, so I decided to quit the police department and move out to California.
And of course, you started, your first band was called Grapes of Wrath.
That was the Grapes of Wrath. That was actually back in Long Island. Matter of fact, my latest record, Want to Go Back, we do songs like Higher and Higher by Jackie Wilson, Hold On I'm Coming by Sam and Dave, Please Please Me by James Brown. Just a great bunch of stuff. Stuff that I did with the Grapes of Wrath. And we're having a lot of success with the Want to Go Back record. I'm trying to put out another single called Build Me Up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
Why don't you build me up? We're going to do that one. So I think that's going to be a good single for me on the radio. And I'm just also finished working with Vince Gill. I decided I was in Nashville. My mother and father-in-law live in Nashville. And I got a phone call with somebody that was working with Big 7 Records. And I went down there, and these country western guys, they're such great musicians. And Vince Gill came in, and he turned out to be an Eddie Money fan. I liked Vince since Pure Prairie League back in the 70s. And he came down and we did Give Me Some Water, which is doing great on the country charts. And we did 2 Tickets to Paradise together. And I'm pretty excited about the success I'm having with the country.
Well, out of curiosity, did you happen to see Bill Clinton when he was on Jay Leno play the sax? And how do you think he did? I think he plays terrible. He plays by the book. You know, somebody like Junior Walker in the All-Stars or David Sanborn or Tom Scott, really good horn players, they play like they're singing, you know. Clinton got up there like he was reading a band chart, you know. I think it helped him win the election, though, because we all got to see a different side of him and everything. Yeah, I mean, he was a rock and roll boy. So tell us about the Want to Go Back album that debuted in March of '07. Well, we put out You Don't Know Me. And then the guy we put it out with, the promoter, just got really greedy, and he started putting all these kid bands on my marquee, and it just got really crazy. So we were like 31 with Bullet, and then we learned out to be 44 with an anchor. But you know, the song did well for me, and you know, to have the honor of doing a Ray Charles Jack track, you know. You give your hand to me, and then you say hello. Now I can hardly speak. My heart is beating so. It's just a great tune, and it goes over great live. And who doesn't love Ray Charles? And we sell a lot of CDs at the show, and we're supporting the Ulysses Laser Pediatric Kids. Right, yes. These are wonderful kids. They're born with this devastating disease, and you know, due to the advancement in medicine, these kids are living a lot longer than they were 5 years ago. You know, so I'm happy. Yeah, you were once at MTV's Heartthrob, too. That's what they tell me. Right? And of course, you were just recently featured with your daughter Jessie in Rock the Cradle. Yeah. Tell us about that experience. Well, Rock the Cradle was a great show for all the kids. I mean, I got to meet Bobby Brown's kid. He was a nice kid, and Lucy Wolf.
these are all, you know, kids of, I think my daughter was the only one that wasn't dysfunctional. Well, probably, which is why the person, she was one of the first ones to go. She was too normal. But I think they got rid of her for shock value, but she got 30 pages of complaints, and she got so many complaints at MTV they had to take a picture of the website. But I think she got bounced out a little early, and it really did break her heart. But, you know, she's in this business. You're not always going to get signed under her strip, you know. I mean, she didn't have to go out and play in bar bands. She comes out and works with me, you know. She's got a maiden in the shade compared to a lot of other kids, but she's got a lot of talent. She really does.
And having you with her father and the money name behind her.
My wife says I pick on her too much. She says, "What are you, Joe Jackson? Leave her alone. Leave her alone."
Yeah, but look at how successful the Jacksons have turned out to be. You know, there's something to be said about that.
Well, my daughter's got an old soul. She loves Janis Joplin, and she loves Etta James, of course, and she likes Martha Vandellis and Ruby Johnson. She likes all these singers from the 60s. I don't know why. It's like she was born in the wrong generation. I can't figure it out.
She has an old soul.
She's got an old soul. That's what they say about her.
Now, you also featured Apollonia in your first MTV video.
Actually, the first thing that Apollonia ever did before she was in Purple Rain, she's a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
And she came down and she did Shakin' with me.
I am so jealous.
And I got to tell you, she might have been a great singer, but that girl couldn't dance the same way.
I know, I saw that.
She danced like what, She wasn't much of a dancer. But she's a pretty girl.
Well, I was going to volunteer, because I would love, that's my favorite Eddie Money song.
I bet you could shake the rug, baby, I'm telling you.
And I'm thinking that, I was hoping you would sing that song to me. And if you want to do a remake, I will volunteer to be the blonde Apollonia. And we can even use my new car.
What kind of car did you get?
Jaguar XF, the new one. It's now going to be called the Eddie Money car.
My wife's she's buying a BMW 36i, and I'm the only car in the driveway in my house is mine. It's the only one that's paid for. My kid drives a Jeep. My other kid's I got him in a Mustang, and it's miserable. And every time you try to get the kids to go to work, the grades drop in school. So what are you gonna do?
Well,
what are you gonna do?
Your by far favorite album of mine was No Control in the 80s. That was called your comeback album.
Yeah, that's true. It was a great record for me too. It had my friends on it, and No Control, and Take a Little Bit, and Shake, and
right.
It was very big. It was a big record. Matter of fact, we're doing a show at the DTE Energy Center in Detroit, and we're doing the entire record from beginning to end. No Control.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
So I got to go back in and learn all the lyrics again.
Wow. Now, Jessie performs with you a lot, right?
Yes, she does.
I know I saw you a few years ago. You were on Regis and Kelly.
Right, sure.
I was hoping you were going to say you were from Florida, but you never said that.
Well, I was with, my wife, and I met Hulk Hogan was on the show too. He's like me. We both got crazy daughters in the business. Boy, we were just,
And he had that reality show.
We were crying the blues to each other. Yeah.
He had that reality show, and he lives, I think, over in Tampa.
Yeah, he's a nice man. Very nice man.
So, and she performs the Ronnie Spector part of Take Me Home Tonight.
Yes, she does. Yeah.
And the Joe Baker part of Baby Hold On to Me, right?
Joe Baker was a great, great singer. She couldn't stop drinking though, and she died of cirrhosis of the liver. Beautiful individual, but like Janis Joplin, or a lot of these singers, the blues singers, and they go through a lot of men, and I just hope my daughter takes the high road instead of the low road.
Right. Now, all five of your
kids. She takes after the old man. She likes knocking down the bed easy. You gotta watch her.
I'm sure she's going to appreciate hearing that.
She's a little wild, I'll tell you.
Now, all your five kids are musically inclined.
I would have to say they pretty much are pretty musically inclined. My kids, I got two of my sons play guitar, and my other two kids play drums. But I wish they were good enough to not run out of steam and come out and play for Daddy. But they're into their own thing. My wife turned my garage into a rehearsal studio, so now I've got to get my car washed twice a week. But the kids got a place to practice that day.
Are you still hoping for a doctor or lawyer? Maybe a grandchild will become a doctor.
I just want my kids to be, happy. Even if they were painters or plumbers. I don't know. My oldest son just dropped out of junior. He was in his third year of junior college, for Christ's sakes. He just doesn't get it with that. I don't know what he's going to do. But, you worry about your kids, My daughter thinks she's going to be a star, but at least she thinks she's going to be a star, so she's halfway there. If you don't think you're going to be a star, you'll never be a star.
Right. Well, did you think you were always going to be a star?
I had a feeling that I was going to do well, because it's really what I wanted to do, and I kept my weight down, and I started writing some good songs, and I took singing lessons I took lessons, both lessons from a lady named Judy Davis, who taught Frank Sinatra, Vicky Carr, Sammy Davis Jr., Barbra Streisand, just an amazing coach. I took up for 4 years. And I took saxophone in college. I mean, I took my music lessons very professionally. You know, I mean, I looked at it and, I took lessons in college and stuff like that. And, I really wanted to, I worked hard at what I was doing. I wasn't lazy, and I went the extra mile.
Did you have that vision? Like, how people say you're supposed to envision what you want to be. Did you do all that sort of
Well, I wrote
thing?
songs like Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star, and I wasn't a rock and roll star.
Okay.
And I wrote 2 Tickets to Paradise and Baby Hold On before I got my record deal. And then I was signed to Columbia Records, which was a great label for me back in those. I mean, I had 36 songs in the top 100, which was, a really incredible track record. And Bill Graham was my manager. He was the rock impresario. I mean, he managed the Stones, and he managed Janis Joplin. Of course, we lost him in '94 in a helicopter accident, which was a very tragic day in my life. But all in all, life goes on. I got this new single out with Vince Gill. I'm happy about that. I'm hoping to put out Build Me Up Buttercup. I'm trying to get my daughter on the radio.
Now,
Trying to get my son to pass English. I go, how do you fail English? You speak English. God, I mean, these kids.
Now, Britt, Build Me Up Buttercup, that was made famous on There's Something About Mary, that movie.
That was a really good movie.
Yes, it was so
Excellent,
funny.
yeah.
Well, are we going to see you in any movies?
I'll tell you the truth. They asked me to get into a couple of movies, but I just finished working on a Broadway play called 2 Tickets to Paradise. It takes place in the late 60s. And when I quit the police department and moved out to California, and it was back in '68, which was the summer of love, and I wrote a great Broadway show, but I tried to pitch it to Broadway. There's not enough theaters on Broadway. I can't even get it considered for 2 years. So I'm going to shop it to San Francisco, because when Bill Graham died, he left a certain amount of money to some pretty professional people. And I'm trying to put the thing out in San Francisco. I'm working really hard on this play.
Right.
Never say never.
Right. Now, what is your favorite song to perform?
I like 2 Tickets to Paradise. I've always liked that because it's, who wouldn't want 2 Tickets to Paradise?
Exactly.
It's kind of like my Jimmy Buffett song. And Baby Hold On is good because actually Jessica comes up and does Joe Baker's part, which is fantastic. And I love doing all the songs because people light up when they hear a Baby Hold On, or I Want to Go Back, or Take Me Home Tonight, or Walk on Water, or My Friends. It sets them back in a certain period in their life. I don't know if they were happy or unhappy, but it's like me listening to the Beatles. It brings me back in time. So we got a lot of fans out there. I mean, there was a lot of women that went to me back in '76, '77. They were in their 40s. Well, now they're in their 60s, and their daughters come to the show, and their daughters' kids, and then it's like, whoa. It's amazing how many, it's like I got 3 generations of women that are into my music. It's incredible.
Well, that's great. Now, we're going to quickly take a commercial break, and we'll come back and talk to you more about the part that you walked through the Blonde Inspector, because I understand you got an award for that.
She was very nice to thank me. She's a very, very grateful individual. I mean, I got her back in the business. I called her up and I heard a bunch of clinking and clacking. I said, what are you doing? She said, she's doing the dishes. She dropped out of the business and had a couple of kids. And then I made the video of Take Me Home Tonight, and she came out with the cellar, with the door coming up and all the smoke, and she looked amazing. She just, and when she got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, she thanked me. It was what a pretty lady.
Yeah, that was great.
She didn't have to do that,
Okay, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with more interview with Eddie.